Let me now introduce Ilya Pratt, who is a learning specialist at Park Day School, which is an elementary and middle school here in Oakland, California. And I'm going to hand the phone over to Ilya.
So hi there. My name is Ilya Pratt. I'm the lower grades learning specialist at Park Day School in Oakland, California. And Park Day is a private K through 8th grade independent school. Got a student body of about 280 kids. And we're about 34 years old. And our educational philosophy is based in progressive education, the heart of which is discovery-based learning, critical thinking, and social justice. And what this looks like in the classroom is that there's very little teaching as your traditional lecturing, and instead kids are learning through exploration and dialogue with peers. Our school culture is one of inclusion, in which we appreciate and respect all aspects of our diversity. And of course, this is critical for creating safe learning environments for all members of our school community, first and foremost the kids, but also the staff and parent community. You can't learn if you don't feel safe, of course. And that inclusion and safety is probably why the average tenure of our teachers and most of our admin staff is over 20 years. As a teacher at Park, there's a lot of room to be creative in how we work with kids and how we develop curriculum. We're both compelled by our educational philosophy to address all types of diversity and social injustice, and we have a room or safe space in which to do the work. And one of the reasons I was asked to participate in this webinar is that Park has a reputation for having relatively few incidences of bullying, particularly homophobic bullying. And we will know that of course, know that bullying does happen on our campus. And as a matter of fact, we very recently had an incident of homophobia as well as sexual harassment happen here. Two different incidences. And so it does happen, not very frequently, but it does. And in putting together these thoughts for this event, what struck me most was the amount of ongoing work that we do, that we must do as a community in order to achieve the degree of respect for diversity and safety that we do have. Kids have enormous pressure from their greater culture, and they want to be like everyone else, and of course they're going to adopt the behaviors that they think achieve this. And our school challenges to use just about every moment of our time together to build and reinforce positive community behaviors. So from day one in our school, kids are learning how to be a friend and member of the classroom and larger school community and the world beyond. The other day I was in our pre-kindergarten classroom, and someone knocked the pen container onto the floor, and the teacher immediately said, "Oh, who is going to help this child pick up the pens?" There was a rush of small bodies to help out. And right there is a wonderfully simple example of what is happening all the time here at Park Day. Friends don't laugh at each other's mistakes. They jump in and help each other out, stand up for each other. So another interesting phenomenon you'll find in our classrooms is that the teachers they have kids model behaviors, and through this modeling, the kids start to internalize the behaviors over time. So an example is, notice how Joe is going to make room for Sue at the rug so that she feels welcome. And eventually the kids start to learn that behavior. They start to automatically do it themselves and hold it as their own. Contribute to, of course, building community. And, of course, we have many, many exchanges that involve helping kids develop empathy. A frequently asked question you'll hear is, how do you think your friend feels? Look at her face. What's she telling you? And kids are taught how to dialogue to find resolution. We also have built into our program regular meeting time for the kids to talk about their differences and work through problems. We have classroom meetings weekly in the lower grades. And we also have town hall meetings and smaller advisory meetings in the middle school program. And really the heart of these is the kids they make the agenda for these meetings. They can bring up what they need to bring up. And it's a forum for kids to really talk things through. Another factor that contributes to our sort of low incident of bullying on our campus is that we don't let conflict slide. The conflicts between kids. If the kids don't bring up something, but we notice that something's happening, we make sure that it's addressed. Recently, and I saw an example of this in the middle school where one of the teachers noticed an 8th grader cutting in line in front of some 7th graders. And, of course, there was more to the story than meets the eye. But the point is that in addressing it, this teacher didn't let it slide, and something that would otherwise be a very small thing could later turn into something much larger between the kids. So it's just really very proactively going after the small things without being judgmental. The homophobia incident I mentioned earlier, the response to it included the middle schoolers having a town hall meeting in which some of the It Gets Better clips available via YouTube were shown. And the message the teaching staff gave in this case was that, yes, this is happening in our community. No, we're not going to sit here and, go on about the incident that did happen or really be judgmental about that, but instead to say it is happening, and if there's something coming up for you, whether it's about homophobia or something else, there's space to bring it up in our community. So other things that sort of help to thwart negative behavior are built into our calendar. We've got some events that celebrate diversity. We've got an LGBT Pride celebration annually in June. And then we also have Care Week, and I'm going to talk a little bit more in depth about Care Week. Care Week is a campaign for acceptance, respect, and empathy. And it's a week in which the entire school is focused on a particular topic. And these included, over the years, bullying, peace, LGBTQ folks, gender, race, and learning differences. And Care Week started about 10 years ago in 2000, and it was in response, actually, to a rise in bullying incidents on the playground. And much of the power of Care Week comes from using personal stories to build empathy. And, of course, the follow-up dialogue in which the kids explore together what we can do to prevent or respond to people hurting each other. There's always an emphasis on communicating feelings, telling personal stories, and how to be an ally. And the basic structure of this Care Week is that we have a speaker and or activity in each classroom during each day of the week. And there's an opening and closing ceremony to reinforce the fact that this is a whole community event, such an important topic. We're all paying attention and participating. There's cross-grade activities. For example, the older kids might do skits about how to be an ally with the younger kids. There's some kind of central bulletin board or activity that everyone contributes to over the course of the week. And the purpose of this is to allow kids to see what other kids outside of their own class are thinking about. So, for example, with learning differences, that was learning and physical differences actually that week, we had a the bulletin board, that was an I learned statements bulletin board. So, for example, I learned that people in wheelchairs can play basketball was when that came up. And for our week focused on world peace, we tied wishes on our fairy tree. It's a tree in the center of the campus. And a very critical piece of why Care Week is successful for our community is that we bring parents into the conversation. And we do this through two things. First, we do a parent-ed event, usually the week before or the week during. And then we also send home homework that involves them. And you'll see in the slides, there's some samples of that homework in which the parents are actually filling out questions about whether they had experienced any bullying, for example, in their lives. So there's this nice exchange going on at home between the parents and the kids. It's very, very powerful. So, and Care Week hasn't always been easy for we as a staff to pull together. The topics we've addressed aren't ones that we have all the answers to. We tried to do our best talking about things like gender when the book on how to talk with kids about gender differences wasn't written yet. And race, despite the many resources available, we had a lot of work to do as a staff to prepare for Care Week, and we still, are still working on that as a staff. And of course, we do make mistakes when we tackle these big topics, when we're really stretching ourselves in the school. A great example is, or rather a very concrete example is, in the slides you'll see there's a stenciled SALT words, and these were words on our that an artist came in and helped the kids stencil on our playground. And they're all words related to homophobia was the way they were talked about. And however, there were those of us who were LGBT watching through this, realizing that words that we do embrace, for example, dyke, I think is there in that slide, and that we had positive associations with. As part of the culminating event, the kids all gathered around this big spread of words on the playground, and then when the whistle was blown or something, they all scrubbed them out with their feet. And so some of us were watching this happen going, oh dear, what message are we giving these children? Eradicating all the words that we hold. So anyway, we do make our mistakes. And one other really important mistake we made was, at least from my perspective, was during the presidential election when Proposition 8 here in California was also on being voted on. The middle schoolers were, of course, doing a mock election, and so here they are debating and voting on my wife and my, marriage, the validity of our marriage. And I have to say, that really brought home to me how we, as a liberal progressive school, trying to do what's right for kids so they'll be prepared to help make this a better world. We just can't get too cocky thinking we know how best to teach them. These harder topics are tricky, and we really have to make the space for us as a staff to check in and work through things together, bring in outside resources such as No Dumb Questions. We've definitely watched that as a staff, and those are really helpful. Over the years, it took us a long time to really get to the point of where we could talk about gender with kids. There was concern that bringing up gender variance with the younger kids would be problematic. And I just so remember the voice of one of the kindergarten teachers going, I don't want to bring this up to them. It's going to be too confusing for them. And somewhere in there, I can't remember who, if it was me or somebody else, found out about No Dumb Questions. And it, watching it just really reminded us of where young kids are in thinking about gender differences. They're at a very, very basic place, very simple, how is this going to affect me? Well, am I going to get to still, play with you with my dolls or whatnot, or will I get to play with you with my dolls, I think is the way it goes in your film. And it was just a really good reminder of where children are. We adults put so much on of our own stuff into these harder topics. We make them hard, not the kids. But it's always worth it. All this hard work, we're worth it. It's worth it, and we're really proud when, in those times when kids who the staff knows are struggling with challenges of their particular diversity, when they decide to talk to their classmates, or even kids in other classes about what they're experiencing. We've had kids with two moms share their wedding stories. Children with learning differences talk about them openly for the first time. Kids with physical differences relate their experiences. And kids talking about how gender stereotypes just don't work for them. So that really brings it home to why we do this work. So bringing it all together, the things that we do here at Park Day that really contribute to our success and having a very low rate of incidence of bullying and other types of really negative behavior include this ongoing building of community, actively teaching kids how to dialogue about their differences and resolve their disagreements, standing up and being allies for each other, and really providing space for kids to bring up what they need to bring up, and the staff as well. So with that, if you ever need more ideas or thoughts about how we do it here at Park Day, feel free to contact the school. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Ilya. There's so much more there, as with everyone's talks today. So I hope that we have a chance someday down the line, to do something together again, or that you have a chance to get in touch with them directly.